All right, y'all. So sorry about the technical difficulties. I normally don't work on CP time, but things happen. So just want to welcome you to the first TaeTalk. So this is a long, very long time coming. If you know me in real life, I'm very quick to listen, slow to speak. So the fact that I'm on live for all of my Facebook friends to know and see, I'm upset. Okay, I'm angry. I'm not just passionate. That's the first thing, but I'm angry at this point. And so we're just going to talk about today the restart of schools for the fall for 2021. Little bit about why I've been brought to this point of actually doing this TED Talk and hopefully continuing on and doing more in the future. I've been looking at all of the school board meetings that they've been having across the state of Georgia, specifically in metro Atlanta area. And I see these school boards that, one, don't look like the majority of the people who they serve in that particular county. I can name probably 2 counties who actually have a school board that's actually representative of the people that they serve, of the students that they serve. So there's a lack of diversity. So automatically, that's the one problem that we see there. So you have people who are so far removed from what's actually going on and the actual people who are going to be under these policies that people are voting. There's a disconnect. 2, they didn't ask the teachers. We talk about using and employing stakeholders all the time. I am a researcher. I'm working on my doctorate. I'm almost done. Praise God. Oh my gosh. So I research. I need data. I need facts. I need statistics. Those are my receipts. And I don't work without having those things. And you can't possibly create a plan for reopening the fall without discussing this and getting the input of all of your stakeholders. That includes the teachers, the parents, the other educator adjacent, meaning custodians, nurses, counselors, front office staff, clerical staff, all of the people, bus drivers that are involved in making the school system work. You cannot sit there on your ivory tower and make these decisions of people's lives and their health without all of the insight and all of the ideas from all of the stakeholders. So that's problem number 2. We had no input for real. In my county, we got a survey about our opinions 2 days before they released their reopening guidelines, the initial ones. And then they got pushback. So they had a school board meeting and they pushed back our delay. They delayed the school about 2 weeks from August the 3rd to August 17th. Okay, fine, cool. But when I'm sitting on these school board meetings still, there are several things that are, it's just too much it's too many uncertainties still for them to be trying to have school in person. Now, the fact that they're not taking any account of the people who have to be in that building is one thing, okay? So you have a lack of teacher, faculty, and staff input. You also have a lack of student input. These students have to go to school too. You didn't ask them, you didn't survey them. So between myself and all the students, faculty staff, custodians, all support staff. You have over 100,000, 200,000 students, close to probably 300,000 people in a school district now, or collectively in the state of Georgia, who are going back to school, but you have no idea of all of these unknowns. Okay, so how are we dealing with busing? Okay, how are we delaying start times? Because if we're socially distancing on the buses, you're going to need multiple bus routes. You're going to need multiple bus drivers. And if you've worked in the school system, you know school bus drivers, there's a shortage. There's always a need. That's a problem. So, okay. So if we're going back to school, if we're following CDC guidelines, they want 6 feet apart in a classroom. I don't know if you've visited a classroom lately, but our schools, our shoebox classroom sizes of a regular academic class, you won't be able to do that. You'll fit maybe 5, 6 kids in a room. In my classroom, my room, because I teach choral music, is much larger than a standard classroom. However, I have 80 kids signed up for chorus this year. What does 6 feet look like? So, okay. At one point in time, there was also the talk of using having masks. Mask at the time when I was looking on the board meeting wasn't going to be required for students. But now, thank God, they are going to require, in my district at least, they're going to be requiring masks. Okay. So we have a problem that's coming up now. Equity. All right, equity. Who's going to pay for these masks? I work in a district. It's not a Title I district totally, but there are Title I schools. And specifically the two middle schools that feed into mine are Title I schools. So the families that feed into my school are going to have difficulties obtaining PPE in the case of masks. Specifically, especially now because of the pandemic, it took, when I ordered my masks, the disposable paper mask, it took almost a month and a half for them to get to me. The cloth masks are good and cool, fine, but all the different types of masks and things of that nature. With the cloth masks, they need to be washed regularly. So again, there's equity issues here coming up. So I'm going to come back to that. So there are other things. So PPE, they're like, well, we could go back to school. We'll just socially distance and we'll create these alternative learning situations. Okay. So what I'm seeing are several types of virtual options that LEAs or local education agencies are having to decide. That's another problem. Why have we not heard one word from our state Department of Education? Why are all the 59 counties in Georgia having to, and public and private districts having to go through, and city municipal districts having to talk about what we're going to do to restart school? Why are there 59, probably more, different versions of how we're going to start school in the middle of a freaking pandemic? I mean, seriously. So Superintendent Richard Wood, I didn't vote for you. Sorry, not sorry. But has said nothing, has been silent about how we're supposed to go through the reopening of this school system. This should not be, and I'm piggybacking on my colleague yesterday, Jamez Dudley, who went off yesterday, and rightfully so. There's no state guidance. And it's very on par for state guidance right now, because really local agencies have been doing more for their citizens than state and federal government, and we all know this. But that's the problem. So we're led to a couple of different options. One option that one of the metro Atlanta counties is doing is an A-B hybrid restart, with some of the kids going on A day Monday, Tuesday, some of the kids going B day on Wednesday and Thursday. I've seen some schools with the option of having Wednesday off for all and do digital learning, and some schools having it on Friday doing digital learning. So there are implications with this as well. One, what school has the custodial staff that's going to be necessary to thoroughly clean these schools? And if you're having an off day on Wednesday and on Friday or on Wednesday, and then having to turn around and clean again on Friday for the second set of kids, who's doing this cleaning? Who is doing this cleaning? And especially if you already have a school that lacks the funding for custodial staff for basic needs. Like, I've been to schools where they don't even come pick up the trash every day. So you're really expecting these custodians who are overworked and underpaid, sounds like a trend, to come in here and actually risk and continue to risk their lives as well to clean up after students are in classes, having them wash the desk, having them to fog the hallways in the classrooms, having to wipe down the surfaces of the building every day. We're terribly underfunded. They recently cut $350 billion. Is it billion or million? I think it was $1 million from Georgia's educational budget that recently passed a couple of days ago. So we're already underfunded. So where's the money for this manpower going to come from? Okay. The other option is going, students go, the families have the choice of going face-to-face or going completely virtual. Several implications here on the problems. We'll start with the face-to-face version. Okay, so all it's going to take is one child or one teacher to contract the virus and to pass away from this virus for them to shut it down all over again. And then we're going to be stuck in the same situation that we were back in March when they shut down schools back in March 13th, where we are scrambling as educators trying to make the best out of this situation. Jamez, I see you. We're gonna talk in a couple, and I'm gonna bring you on in just a second. But I have a couple more points that I want to talk about. But so you have kids coming to school, needing to have clean, needing to socially distance. I don't know about y'all, but my school has almost 1,000 students in the school. I work at the largest high school in my district. Okay. If you've seen my school on a normal day, you know socially distancing isn't going to happen. First of all, these are kids. They haven't seen their friends probably in person a lot since March. So yes, they're going to be kids. Kids going to be kids. All right. Well, the virus doesn't seem to be attacking the youth. The youth aren't passing. A simple Google search, will show you that children now are indeed contracting the virus and are indeed dying from the coronavirus. So even if this child, if they contracted, is asymptomatic, you have teachers there, you have support staff there that are susceptible to getting this virus and going to the hospital. So that leads me to another point, my darlings. What happens when there is a suspected exposure to coronavirus or proven exposure to coronavirus as a teacher? The teacher has to quarantine for 14 days. The students in her class also will need to quarantine for those days. The students in other classes and the teachers in other classes will need to also quarantine. So do we not understand that face-to-face really isn't a viable solution right now? And this is not even talking about the problem of equity. Local education agents should not have to be talking about these things. They should not. Our state leadership, the people that we voted into office at the state level, should be having these long and tough conversations. And if you're having a conversation about me going back to school face to face on a Zoom call, what does that say about us needing to be in the building? Now, again, I'm going to tell you, I love my babies. I miss my babies. And I went through a depressive state because I wasn't able to make music with my students. But I promise you, I can't teach music from the grave. I can't teach music from a hospital bed, and I'm not going to. I haven't seen, prior to me going to see my family on a socially distanced Father's Day, I hadn't seen my parents since February. Even if I was to contract it, and this is my fear right now, I am not, even if I was to become asymptomatic, going to suscept my parents or family members who have health conditions, underlying health conditions, to myself. So that means if I go back to school on August 17th in person, I won't be able to see my family for who knows how long. Then we're wondering, okay, well, how do you know people might have it? Okay, are we testing monthly? Are we testing weekly? Or who's paying for that? Remember, they want to roll back affordable health care and insurance, and the cost of COVID tests being hundreds of dollars for people who are uninsured. Comes back to an equity issue, huh? Oh, well, we need to go back to school because we have to get back to work. We have to I can do my job virtually with proper implementation. It comes back to a point where we're starting to all realize, and folks hopefully have realized this through the whole situation with the pandemic beginning. Public school education has been used for more than just teaching for way, way longer. There are babies in this school who the only time they eat regularly is when they're in school. You have on the socio-economic and the social emotional spectrum of things, you have kids who the only time they get paid attention to is when they're in school. The only time they have someone or a voice that's being listened to is in school. But yet and still, we're underfunded. But yet and still, they find the need to nickel and dime us and expect teachers to pay for their school supplies, to pay for their cleaning supplies. I literally had to put the big jugs, because before this pandemic, I don't play with germs. We got the big old Sam's Club bottle of hand sanitizer in my room every year. I have Kleenex station. I have all of these things that aren't supplied to me by the school system. And it's no fault of my administrators. My administrators that I have currently are absolutely, bar none, phenomenal. And they understand the BS that we have to put up with. And we try to make the best of the situation. But at this point in time, you're telling me that as a person who is being underappreciated, underpaid, you're telling me that I have to risk my life because of an inconvenience of somebody not being able to work because their kids are at home? Let's think about that. Seriously. I'm not a glorified babysitter because, baby, babysitters making more than me. Let's do the math, shall we? Okay. So I have about 150, 185 students who have signed up for course in the upcoming year. $25 a head to babysit. I would be making close to $5,000 a day. Okay, I'll take $5,000 a day, but that's not what I'm making. So no, we are not babysitters, because babysitters, shoot, they get paid more than we do. I am here to educate. I didn't come into this job profession to be rich. I didn't. I did it because I love teaching and I wanted to impart my love of music to other people. I did not sign up to be a lamb set to the slaughter when there is no oversight over all of these things, all of these instances, all of these shoulda, coulda, wouldas with in-person, face-to-face instruction. Well, they're going to have the option if they want to, stay at home and do virtual school. Okay. So again, implications, correct? Right. So there's no set decision on, are they going to stay on the school's roster? Are the teachers who have said they're not coming back to school if they have to teach virtually going to have the opportunity to teach virtually? Is it going to be one teacher? Are they going to stay in the school? Or are they going to teach children across the county? Are they going to go to the virtual homeschooling? There's no foresight. These decisions that people are making without speaking to their stakeholders, it's not going to work. It's not thought out. It's not it's not. I'll do what I have to do, but the fact of the matter is there's a lack of actual foresight into how this is actually going to work. So for those folks who are proponents of, socially distancing face to face, I need for those school board members, and I saw this, and another colleague on Twitter posted this, but set up some virtual, no, not virtual, excuse me. Set up some in-person actual demonstrations of how this is going to go. Let's walk through a day in the life of a school age child in all levels, elementary, middle, and high, and how they're going to deal with this face-to-face instruction. I need school board members to understand and walk in our shoes and to start to understand our concerns, because there are plenty. Then you have students with IEPs. You have students who have extra services with social workers, and you have students who are in special education classes, and they have special education services. So what are the things that we're going to do for these students as well? The students, and typically the students who are in special education classes, are some of the most vulnerable health-wise. But we're expected to go above the above and beyond that we already do, because I don't know about you, but teachers, and especially my colleagues who teach in Title I schools, we some hustlers. We are prime hustlers. And I will hustle to the day that I die for my children, my students, but I'm not doing this. I will be in school until this COVID go away and live off student loans if I have to. Fact of the matter. Because this is ridiculous. It truly is. So I don't ever come to a table without having a solution. And this is what I'm going to be putting in my letter to my superintendent as well as the state superintendent. We need to be virtual, at least for the fall semester. And this is why. Virtual learning is the most fiscally responsible way to mitigate all of those issues that I mentioned earlier. The issue that a lot of parents are having is that they're having to work. Either they're having to work at their business or they're having to work from home, which is a privilege and a blessing in itself. So you're depending on school for childcare. That's a problem. Well, what about the kids who don't eat at school, at home? So you're depending on the school system to feed these children. Are we starting to see a pattern? Now, luckily and unluckily, it seems that the cause of the pandemic has caused us to sit and think with no distractions, no sports on the TV, no work for a lot of people with unemployment or with work from home, no real movement. People have been able to sit and think. So we have to start being innovators. Virtual school, again, the best option to mitigate anyone having any liability to contract COVID and possibly be hospitalized or die. I know people who have died from COVID-19. I know people who have been in the hospital for COVID-19. I know people who only had mild symptoms who've had COVID-19. But I'm not suscepting myself to the possibility of these myriad of different situations. I know folks who have passed, they do autopsies for these people who've passed, and they look at how their lungs look. A healthy lung on the right. The lung of the COVID patient who's been on a ventilator for several weeks looks like they've been smoking 50 packs a day for about 25 years. As a music educator, I need to be able to breathe. I need my lungs. My instrument is my body. So again, do you see the issue here? So I can't. That's my decision, and that's my thought on this. So again, you have the whole child care thing. Okay, all right, I understand. However, we have to start thinking again like a village. It can no longer be this is my family, this is how we're going to do it, because clearly it's not working. And I don't know about y'all, I'm a hustler. So if I don't have a job and people need people to be facilitators for their children while they go to work, I can come facilitate and make sure that Lil John and Susie do their school assignments. You got neighbors. You got people doing homeschool all the time, where it's a homeschool group where they drop their kids off at a house, and that homeschool teacher would teach. We don't even need homeschool teachers. We just need a facilitator. We just need somebody there to help if there is a technology issue, or if there is maybe if there's a problem or clarity issue. Okay? Parents, we're not asking you to teach. We're not. And honestly, you're not. We're asking you to facilitate. That's a different thing. Look it up. Research versus me search. Shout out to Conscious Lee. But in order to implement virtual learning, there has to be several implementations. We have to push back the start of school. I would push it back until September, after Labor Day, so that we have plenty of time to do training. We need a streamlined platform that we're going to use for these kids to get all of their training videos, tutorials, research, digital library access, all of that. There needs to be a single place, not multiple, not teacher choose your own, a single. The teachers need to be trained on this platform. The students need to be trained on this platform. And the parent, guardian, or teacher facilitator needs to also be trained on this platform. Parents need to understand their role in this situation. Students also need to understand their role and how they're going to be held accountable. They're going to be graded. It's going to be school. You're going to learn. That's the only way it's going to work. We have a phenomenal opportunity to change the perception and provide an equitable access to education. We can't keep doing the same stuff that we've been doing for decades. It's not working. The system is broken. The system is broken. we can't just sit back and let other people who don't do our job dictate how we're going to do our job. Again, and I'm going to be done. What can we do now? It's time, parents, to start writing those letters, making those phone calls, because they're going to listen to y'all before they listen to me. They're going to listen to y'all. 2, teachers, we got to do the same thing. I'll be the squeaky wheel. I will always be the squeaky wheel when it comes to my students. If it means that I don't have a job, oh well, so be it. Where one opportunity, one door closes, another 5 will open for me. I'm not worried. I'll be that squeaky wheel. But I know that my martyrdom will be for a good reason. We also have to vote. Whether or not you believe it, whether or not whatever side you're on, whatever left, right, in the middle, I don't care. We need to vote, but not vote blindly. We need to vote with purpose. We need to research these candidates who are running for school board, who are running for city office, who are running for DA and running for mayor and running for governor and running for our state senate, as well as our national senate and Congress, as well as the president. We have to do our research. And that's where a lot of things go awry, because people aren't doing their research. They're voting blindly based off of party, or they're voting blindly just because. It's time to take off the blinders. We can't do this anymore. We cannot. We can't move it the same way. And so I'm challenging you, all of my viewers, hey, to start moving different. We got to think about this differently. We have to innovate, because nothing's going to change for our students if we don't change our own mindset. And this whole pandemic is giving us time to do a hard reset and really start to move us into the next level. The next level in education, the next level as Americans, because there's some other things that I want to talk about in other TaeTalks in the future. Y'all, the potential is there, and I tell my kids this all the time. The potential is there, but the potential means nothing if you don't work towards your greatness. Georgia, I'm talking to you because I was born and bred here. Georgia, you have the potential to be great. But potential means nothing if you don't work on it. So this is Tay for TaeTalk. I'll see you guys.